Hello and welcome back to After the Movies, the show where we talk about movies after you've seen them, so spoilers, of course. My name is Luke, and with me is...
Jonathan.
Yeah, we're here talking about a great little movie today. We're talking about The Martian. So, Jonathan, your first initial impressions of The Martian.
The Martian, yes. Basically, I had heard a lot about it before it even became a movie. Like, there's a book, and everyone was like, in slash film, they were talking a lot about, like, this could be really good. This looks really good. This is like 3 years before it was even made.
You heard about it before?
I heard about this like 3 years before it was even
This
out.
guy knows stuff.
Sometimes. But I'd heard about it, and they're like, well, this guy's going to, and so on and so forth, the buzz, generates. I was like, I don't know what The Martian is. It sounds stupid. Then I heard Matt Damon. I was like, so this movie.
Matt Damon.
But no, I heard a lot of good things. Obviously, Rotten Tomatoes has given it a good score and whatnot. I heard a lot of every friend who went and saw it before I went to go see it, was saying, hey, this is really good. I really enjoyed it. So I went and checked it out, and I have to say, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, well, see, for me, I had not heard about this movie until, it was, like, out, and it was like, whoa, gotta see this movie, Matt Damon, and, oh, by the way, it's also a book, and the book's pretty good, and stuff. So then people started to go see it, and they were like, yeah, it was good. And so I went in with kind of like, not high expectations, and then I left, and I was like, yeah, it was good. Like for me, the experience was, it was okay. And so the things that just, like, it started out really rough for me, honestly. That was probably the biggest piece for me, is like, it starts, and I'm just like, we're flying over Mars. Okay, and then we got like this, and the opening music, I don't even know what it was. I've only seen this movie once, so I don't know. I can't tell you specifically, but like the opening music, I was just like, what era are we in? Like, this music just doesn't fit at all. Like, it yanked me out of the movie right when the opening Martian thing came up.
I liked it.
Okay, I liked it. And this guy actually knows music, so he's probably right. But
I liked it.
It yanked me right out.
Interesting.
And then the whole thing started, and then I was just like, okay, I like to think of myself as clever, but I'm clearly not, because like when the guy gets hit by like the flying debris, I'm like, who's that? And then like it wasn't until much later, I was like, oh, that was Matt Damon. Oh.
No, I think there's a reason for that, which is that storm sequence. It's hard because they're trying to make it, visibility is really low. That's very crucial to them leaving him behind. But you've only known these people for like 3 seconds, and they've all been in suits that look identical. So you can tell if it's a female or a male. That's about it. You're like, unless you get a close up, which in that storm sequence, even then, it's not extremely helpful. So I think there's a level where just because it's forgivable. It's like it's right in the beginning of the movie. I totally get where it's like, I don't know who that is. I mean, I know who it is. Why? Because who else is going to get hit by debris and be stuck on Mars? Because that's the premise of the movie.
See, and I thought that it was another crewman, and I think it had to do with like the way it was edited. So I was like, oh, okay, so Matt Damon's going to rescue this guy, and then he's going to get left behind, because he's going to get separate. Like, that was what was going on in my head.
I'm glad they didn't do that, by the way.
Me too. That would have been terrible.
But a waste of time.
Yes. Huge waste of time. Oh my goodness.
Just put Matt Damon on the planet.
Right. He's there. He's stuck. This was going on.
So good job, filmmakers. I'm not doing the thing we just thought of.
So yeah. So that was a thing. So I guess the other thing, since I'm jumping right into things that just didn't work for me, was the crew.
Yeah.
Every time we went to the crew, I was just finding myself like, I don't care. And I think the biggest reason why is that I don't know any of them. Like, the captain, she likes disco music, and she feels some guilt about leaving behind the crew person that she thought was dead, but is actually alive. Whoop-de-doo. Like, there's nothing to that. Like, that's, like, so surface, so obvious, so not, like, that didn't work for me at all. And then all the other characters, like, they didn't really have much, except for Martinez.
Martinez?
Yeah.
He's the pilot guy.
Yeah. You actually get to know him a little bit, so he's actually the strongest crew member, and I liked him every time he was on screen. Everybody else was kind of vanilla and bland. And I'm going to jump right to this as well. I think the way they could have fixed that is if they had combined the 2 other male crew members. Because they really, like, one guy doesn't even, like, say anything, but somehow Kate, like, Mara, or, right, it's Kate Mara?
Yes, Kate Mara.
She, like, is falling for, I don't even know. But, like, there's nothing there. But if you had combined those 2 characters, then they would have had more lines of dialogue in toto, and they would have had more things to do as characters, plus then when he goes down, the one version of the guy with the beard goes down to like, and it's like, hey, can I interrupt your personal time? There could have actually been a moment, and you could have actually had something that built those two characters together as having some kind of rapport. And then that also kicks out the need for like these two characters who are like both waiting in the airlock while the captain's standing out there until she decides to come and help them because this guy's over, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just would have made everything move a lot faster, I think. And that, for me, is an indication that it was an adaptation from a book and they just couldn't figure out how to get, combine those two characters because they felt like, for whatever reason, that would have been bad for the movie. But adapt. Combine characters where possible. It would have helped your movie a lot, and I would have cared a little bit more.
Counterpoint. I did not mind the superfluous characters. I did not feel super duper distant from them. Now, I do understand the argument that they're one-dimensional. I get that. Part of that is that they only have so much time, like screen time.
True.
And part of that also is the story thing, right? Like,
yep.
They don't even know that he's not actually dead
yep.
until halfway in the movie or something,
yep.
then they finally get told. So we spent a long time away from it, and a lot of our information about them is from Matt Damon's perspective when he goes through their stuff to do things. So yeah, that's why the captain likes disco music. Why? Because it's a big deal to Matt Damon. He's like, all I have is disco music.
Which is great. Which is great.
Yes, and that's the thing. So I don't know. I wasn't necessarily wanting more out of those characters. When I watched it, it didn't bother me, and I was okay with the one-dimensional things. I was like, that's good, because otherwise, how am I going to remember you? I mean, unless we go way deep, which then spends a lot of time, and I don't necessarily think we need to go there. But just give me the one thing. So the captain who feels responsible, even though it wasn't her fault, but she's still responsible. So she's super responsible captain.
Responsible.
We get Martinez, who's like the joke. You're right. We do get the most time with Martinez, which is good, and it's mostly, like you said, I think it was a good point that it's in the interaction with Matt Damon too, when they finally get to talk to him and deal with things. He's the one on the screen, he's the one saying it out loud, so that automatically gives you another connection to him and in their interaction. I'm sorry, but Kate Mara, I feel like has been typecast in every single movie as like the chick who looks at the computer. I kid you not. I feel like every single movie she's got a computer and she's like a laptop or something and she's just like plugging away. I'm the computer chick. I write articles and get killed by... Anyway. So... anyway, I feel like she's always the one...
If you're that many seasons behind, you deserve to... Okay.
Yeah, that's a spoiler for the show. Anyway, so... No, but in Fantastic Four, like the trailer, I never saw Fantastic Four because it looked awful to me, and apparently it was, so I was right.
Winning.
Winning. But the trailer for that, same thing. She's just like behind a computer. I'm going to become the invisible girl. I'm also an invisible character. So I just don't know. Anyway, so she was very much, like to me, she was very bland in the same sense that she was just the same person. She's behind a computer, and she can code stuff, and she likes this one guy. Which is, if Jessica Chastain's character is at least somewhat interesting, that she's a captain and she's like, responsible and she's got this connection or this drive to get him back, then Kate Mara is like on the opposite end of. I mean, they're both. You can argue they're both one-dimensional, but at least on this side of the one dimension, it's interesting, and on this side of the one dimension, it's like, I feel like you're just. Sadly, the character, like I don't blame Kate Mara. I think they did a good job with what they had, but the character, the way it's written, what she has is like, hey, you like that one guy that we don't know because he doesn't do anything and very important, and you can code, and that's her thing.
Yep, and we don't even see like it. She even talks about like, man, this would be really really hard. Can you do it? Yes. Oh. Well, then why in the world did you waste time telling me about all the things you'd have to jump over within the code and the blah? I don't care. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
To prove that it was difficult, Luke, to us, the audience.
Because all these people are geniuses, which is important. Because they're more geniuses than the people who coded the thing on the plant. I don't even know.
I do want to briefly reiterate the idea that I think it makes sense that you say to combine those two characters. Now, I'm okay with the two separate characters because one's falling in love with Kate Mara. It's kind of a single dude, got nothing to lose. The other guy's a guy who can apparently make a bomb because he's a chemist and has a family and has a very different demeanor to him.
Right, but Martinez also has a family.
Yeah, but he's totally, and that's the thing. I like the personality differences between them. How they all decide to go because one guy's Martinez has got a family, but he is like hardcore. Let's just go. Let's just do it right off the bat.
In fact, I'm willing to go back to Mars on the next mission if they let me.
Right.
Yeah.
Kate Mara's dude is like single and kind of just is on for the ride. He's like, I think we should just go back.
Well, that's the thing. Like when they decide to go, and he's like laying in the back, and they're like, "We're going." And he's like, "I guess so." I'm gonna go. Like What was your reason for going?
And then there's the chemistry expert guy.
Yep.
And I liked him because he seemed to be out of all the characters the one that had the most to lose. Like, he was the one that was thinking the most about, if I go, I don't see my family, which I care deeply about.
Yep.
And it's a bit, like, he's the one that seemed to have the most gravity weight on them. So the captain was like a no-brainer for her. She's like, look, I feel responsible. I have to go do this. I have to make this right. Martinez is like, F&A, let's do it. Single guy's like, yes, all right. And then you've got Kate Mara's like, I can code. And then you've got,
I could stay with Coding Girl for another year or two. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe she'll even kiss me through my helmet.
Maybe, yeah, and then
we'll have 3 kids later. It'll be cool.
It'll be awesome. No, what? Anyway, all I have to say is I think one of the things that was good about having that many characters is that in moments like that we get to see personality differences and you get a little bit of at least a different counterpoint. It's not just let's go. You get a little bit of this guy is sacrificing something. This is something important to him. It's one-dimensional, sure, but I think it plays. Okay.
And you know what? A single guy could have lost something too, or we could have played up Martinez a little bit more because his wife was like, "Hey."
Which is why I will reiterate also that it also makes sense to combine the characters. It does. And on a logical point, I think it makes sense from a movie perspective. But that point now is moot. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's totally move on because we spent a lot of time on that point.
We did spend a lot of time on that point. I want to bring up something very specific about a pattern I felt with this movie, which is. Back just a little bit. I do not like movies generally that are about survival and like one person. So Castaway. I do not like Castaway. I do not care about Castaway. Castaway is Castaway for me. I do not want to go back to Castaway.
So All Is Lost. You lined up to watch that one. Like
All Is Lost. I think I saw the poster. And it's like it's Robert Redford on the ocean by himself for a movie. And I was like, he's by himself, all right. Anyway,
I didn't watch that one either. Okay.
Point is, I don't generally like these movies where it's like one person survival against the odds or whatever. And this is somewhat like that, and it's very different in genre because it reminds me of Apollo 13. Now, I don't know if you can think of anything else besides Apollo 13 that's a movie like that, where it's a specifically space. And I think the thing that makes this survival genre work for me and a lot better, and I actually get emotionally invested, is it's not just the guy.
Yep.
It's the team of people trying to get the guy back.
Yes.
The whole movie is about saving somebody. You don't get that very often.
Nope.
You get lots of action movies about killing people. You get a lot of movies about like depression. You get a lot of movies about comedy. Like, you get a lot of different things across the board, adventure, whatever. But rarely is a movie entirely centered on the idea of save a person.
Right.
That's it. Save this person. Can you do it?
Yep.
And they're trying to do it, and they also need help, and other people, an entire group of people, even the world, if you want to get that idea right. The world is trying to save one person.
Right.
And I love that. That's a great theme. That's fun. That's not something you get all the time. And it works in the space movies because Apollo 13 being a real thing, right?
Yep.
It's in Matt Damon's case, as Martian feels very similar to me, like Apollo 13.
Oh, it's Apollo 13. It's Apollo 13 for this era.
Right.
Totally.
And it's a lot of fun. It's really good. It's a lot more comedy stuff than Apollo 13 had, but it's got that dynamic of these are real scientific issues, like scientific problems. How do you get through this? This is the challenge. How do you even begin to think to get through this? And I love the dichotomy between, or the comparison between him and everything he's doing, and how they have to figure out what he's doing in the beginning. They can't even talk about what is he doing? Is he trying to go? Where is he trying to go? Why would he go that direction? Right. I love that the discourse, that change. I don't know, there's something about that tension and that communication, and I love it. Now, here's the funny thing. The Martian, as much as I really did enjoy it, that one viewing, I have no idea if it has any legs to it whatsoever. And by legs, I mean repeated viewing, like, would I want to go watch this again? How many times would I want to watch this in the future, right? Star Wars, I'm going to watch it a bunch of times my entire life because it's just fun and it's got a great deal of rewatchability. Yep. As opposed to something like, or you can say, off the top of my head, Inception or some Nolan movie where it's really complex. So there's a level where there's layers to the story and characters, so you watch it again to get more out of it. You know, movies got legs for different reasons, but they have legs. I don't know if The Martian has legs, right? Because so much of that movie is very much about being in the tension of you don't know how he's going to solve any issue, and you don't know what issue is going to be next, and you just the whole tension of the movie is wrapped around questions. And having fun with the unique possibilities of the answers and kind of discovering the answer for the first time. And I'm not. I mean, the movie might have some rewatchability. I don't know. We'll have to see when when I end up watching it again. But my initial thought was, this is really fun. I really enjoyed this. Do I want to watch it again? I don't know if I really care.
Kind of like Oblivion then. Okay, but yeah, so one of those things, and this goes to the storytelling aspect of the movie, is that because we are literally with him and he's talking to us, so we're getting his head, but then we're also getting the team with their, with what they're talking about and what they're trying to figure out. But by choosing which moments to show us and which ones not, we don't know what he's doing when they don't know what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is brilliant, right? You can be with him when he's like, man, I'm freezing out here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see him like, okay, I'm trying to drive further. And he even tells you, ultimately, I need to go over here. But then when they're like, where's he driving to? And they have already established that they know that this is the next landing point. So why is he driving over here? And you're like, yeah, why is he driving over there? Like, it's really good storytelling where even though we're like first person watching him all the time with his little webcam, cams and stuff, like, we're actually in the dark too.
Right, and it's tension. It's tension 101, right? Where it's basically like, how do you create tension, dramatic irony in a sense. It's this idea of like a horror movie, right? Yep. If you know the killer's in there, well, actually, sorry, that's the actually opposite point. My bad. Here's one. A trick I learned one time. A friend told me the idea of, it can be fun to have a conversation between two people when one person speaks a different language and you've got a translator. Why? Because when you do the scene, you might be asking potentially lame questions or usually dramatic, important questions. Mm-hmm. But whatever the question is, it takes longer for the response to come back. And you see the person say something in the other language, but you have to wait, and you're like, what did he say? What does that mean? What's going on, right? Mm-hmm. You're waiting for that to come. You know something's happening, but you don't know what's happening. You don't know what the response is. And I feel like there's some level that's the same deal here, where it's like every time they go different places, they're asking you questions. They're making you ask the same questions, mm-hmm. and you have to wait till they decide at the right time to tell you what this is. And this is really tension. I mean, you can see this in movies all over the place constantly, but it's true. They do this in the movie a lot. And that's, again, probably why I'm wondering if it has legs or not. Also, I guess just reiterating the idea that the jumping back and forth and why that helps, not only do you have more characters and more interactions, but you also have different tensions. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to worry about your only tension being like,
is he gonna live?
Yeah, is he gonna live? Is he gonna die? Can he make the potatoes grow or not? Like, that's not the only tension you're worrying about. Instead, you go back and you start realizing, like, you're the NASA director. You just told everyone he's dead. Do you tell them he's alive? You expect him to be. When do you tell him? How do you do this? Like, all the PR problems. The idea of, we gotta get funding from Congress. How can we even get a probe up there in time? What do we do? What different option do we choose? Because this is the safe option, but it's the unlikely. All of those tensions are fun, and they're good breaking. They're all related, so you don't feel like you're just going off to nowhere. They're all related, but they're different. And those different tensions, those different questions, different characters having to deal with those problems, mm-hmm. that variety also really helps make the movie feel like it's moving and keep your pace and really enjoy all the conflicts. So, I don't know, there's something about that. So, I really enjoyed this movie. I think that I don't know of anything else besides that in Apollo 13 that are kind of like this, specifically space, but I'm not, like, I don't know of many movies where they're trying to go find somebody or trying to save somebody, or it's a group and a person and them trying to reconnect. Right. Not a lot's coming to mind. And I think that's part of why it's perhaps doing so well and so well received. It's just about characters. It's kind of just classic stuff. It's nothing too crazy or new. It's just a genre that's not often done or done well. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the mere fact that whoever wrote the book had to figure out and theorize in at least a somewhat plausible way what it would be like to be on Mars. How would you survive for that long? How would they get back to you? And, everything they bring up in that movie is very plausible in my mind. I don't know anything. I'm sure there's 1,000 different things that would have gone wrong, but from a normal Joe watching the movie, everything they suggest is like, that seems actually pretty scientific. That seems pretty plausible and pretty like that's interesting. I wonder what will happen next. So there were some good things going on in that movie. There's some fun. There's some humor. Matt Damon does a good job with the humor. I think that's really good that they threw that in there. If they didn't have that, I don't know if we would even care about Matt Damon.
Nope.
That's really the key, is the video blog humor to
Well,
make us like him.
and his personality is great. Although for me, again, like I'm just slow or something because at the start of the movie, like the first joke goes off and like 5 people laugh behind me and the rest of the theater. So maybe I'm not the only one, but we're kind of like, oh, okay, that was kind of funny. But then it started to hit its stride, and I started to like him. I started to like what he was about. You know, I'm a space pirate. I colonized this. You know, like I did that. You know, and good thing that I'm a botanist. You know, like there's just like there's good stuff through all of that, and that really does build his character and make us care about him and his plight.
I'll also say that while I just said and everything was very plausible, there's stuff at the end of the movie, particularly right where he's getting shot into space with a canopy as the heat shield, and more specifically, I have a harder time with the entire catching him sequence because they jump the shark. The things they're talking about happening are certainly possible. They are in no way plausible or probable. The capsule is spinning. Not only is he going to cut a hole in his arm to try to jet boost himself out like Iron Man to get somewhere, which in and of itself is ridiculous.
Totally.
Right? He's going to do that out of a capsule that's spinning, and you can't even get your trajectory right to start off with. When he went out of the capsule and was going the right way, I was like, it's a miracle. There's no, like, he should be going right back towards Mars is where he should be going. That is easily the biggest target that he should be going towards. So there are these moments where they jump the shark, but, and at the same time, I let it slide. Why? Because I was enjoying myself. I cared. I wanted him to get off. I was like, cool. But they get a little Hollywood at the end. They get a little bit like, we're going to build a bomb to blow up our ship, to then send the guy across to here, to then have him jetpack himself out, and then we gotta go catch him, and then we're not gonna catch him. We're gonna have him like almost like fly away, but grab the rope, and then we're gonna spin around, and then we're gonna finally get back into the.
And for me, it was the spinning, like the two of them spinning, and like the orange ribbon flow, and I was just like, oh my goodness, gag me! Like I'm just like so sick of this. Like that part just drove me over the edge, but. Leading up to that whole thing with like, oh man, he's not going to make it. The distance is too far. That was for me the whole moment in Apollo 13 where it's like, well, it's like if we had a basketball and this is a baseball and they have to go through a sheet of paper. And you're like, holy crap! Like that was the moment for me. And then also the other homage, or what I felt was an homage to the Apollo 13 thing, was in Apollo 13 it's we have to make this fit into this using this.
Right.
And in this movie, it's we got the smartest people on Earth working on this, and what they've told me to do is drill a hole through the top of this thing and hit it with a rock. Like that's awesome. So those moments, fantastic. Love them.
It's those moments that make it really feel human. Both like really grand and scientific and smart, but at the same time really human. Where it's like, actually, the smartest thing to do is to just hit this as hard as you can. And that is awesome. That's hilarious. That's awesome. I also, just from a filmmaking standpoint, little things I caught that were interesting. Like, you notice how many times they were doing visual exposition of things? For instance, Donald Glover, who, if you don't know Donald Glover, he's the astrophysicist who basically thinks of the idea to send back the original crew to go get him.
Yep.
Okay, he's that guy, right? When he finally explains his idea, right, there's an entire sequence that is fun, but it's a screenwriter's playground. It's a screenwriter's thinking.
Yep.
It's a classic, how do I explain this?
Yep.
And how do I do it visually so that the audience knows what we're talking about?
Yep.
If we were being realistic, he would go in there and he'd say, I think you do this. I think you do an orbit around. They go back, and they can get it done. I've done the math, right? And he just explains it, and everyone there is smart enough to know exactly what he's talking about and keep up. All right?
Yes. They're NASA. They totally get what it means to get a gravity assist, okay?
Right. But for the interest of the audience, right, we're going to take time, and we're going to do an entire visual diagram. Not only are we going to do that, that's not good enough, because we just did that. That might be a little too boring for some of those of us who maybe don't have any patience or whatever. So we throw in some humor. We throw in like Don Glover takes what's his name from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy. NASA director's pen. Did not ask for it. Is totally like off his rocker. Just takes his pen and goes. Maybe is it Jeff Daniels?
I think so.
Jeff Daniels.
Yes.
Takes Jeff Daniels' pen without asking.
Yep.
Go and they bounce something off of the
her
PR.
head.
Yeah, and like There's all these little just comedy, quirky things, and why they do that? To keep you interested.
Yep.
It's that simple. Let characters play, have fun with the interactions.
Yep.
So I don't know. There's a lot of fun, just well done stuff. It's well crafted, and even if there's issues where you don't know the crew very well, or maybe even too much Matt Damon, I don't know if that's a thing. I think it is. I think it definitely is. But even that, again, Matt Damon does a good job, and really the script does a great job of making you like this guy from the beginning and kind of be like, yeah. And again, I think really, I guess the one thing I will say about The Martian, the last thing I'll say is the whole reason this movie works is all the quote unquote human moments that are thrown in the entire way. And there are movies that are not as grand or as fantastical or as big as The Martian. And I think the reason a lot of those movies fail is because they don't think to add the human moment. And that's it. If you just thought for 3 seconds, add a moment that makes characters interact, makes like you feel human, like those moments, those things, I'm not saying they're easy, but they are the key, I think, to a good script, good filmmaking. And whenever the person loses that, especially even if it's a really cool concept, nobody cares, nobody stays along. It's not that simple, but it is that simple.
Totally. So yes, thank you for joining us as we went and revisited The Martian. Let us know what you thought about the movie, and what parts jumped the shark for you. Thank you so much for joining us for After the Movies, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.